I just took a bite out of my favorite fall chicken salad. Fall because we add a few components that bring our favorite summer chicken salad right into a new season with pecans and beautiful craisins and apple. It's one of my favorite chicken salads and it's great all week long and all season long. So let's make it. We're starting to ease into a new season a little bit, just a little bit of fall, but we're still holding on to some of those summer temperatures. It's still warm. I'm still in the summer preserving process. You can see I have mustard pickles sitting in my crock back there. So we're still on those beautiful parts of summer, but we want to kind of have a few flavors of autumn. And that's what this is all about. It's a chicken salad turned up a little bit for a new season, but still has those cool tones that a chicken salad does. It's refreshing during the summer. You can eat it on a salad, you can eat it on a sandwich. But this one just has a few elements that make it extra special, and it's one of my favorites. So to start, what we're gonna do is make sure we have really good chicken that is full of flavor, but also moist. And instead of roasting it, to me, the best method if you want just a really good, simple chicken is to poach it. So what I'm gonna do is create what is in the French term called a court bouillon, which looks like court bouillon, but it's court bouillon. And what it is a quick stock that is gonna have flavor, a few aromatics, and then it's gonna actually cook the chicken. So to start, we just wanna get all those things in here. So we're gonna start with a celery stalk and a carrot, and I'm just gonna chop them enough that they fit in easier. So this can be used whenever you want a very quick broth and you just want something that's gonna have, some extra flavor, and that's what we're doing. So we're putting those right in there. We're gonna take a lemon, we're gonna cut it in half, and then we're just gonna squeeze it in, and I'm gonna put the whole thing right in. So I scrubbed this and cleaned it. If you get some seeds in there, that's fine. This is about the chicken. Now, a traditional court bouillon is gonna have white wine in it too. I'm not gonna do that step in this one because sometimes to open a bottle of white wine just for this, not that you can't drink it after, is an extra step we don't need. And I'm also gonna take an onion, just cut it in half, put that whole half right in here. We're gonna take a sprig of thyme. I have them right over here. I ran out to the garden, and some parsley. And the parsley stems have a lot of flavor too. So I'm making sure to put that whole thing in there with the thyme. And all these simple steps create flavor. And I also grabbed some bay leaves from my bay plants. If you think bay leaves have no flavor, it's because the dried ones in your spice cabinet for the last 10 years, they don't have flavor. That has been dried out of them, it's gone. If you can find fresh ones, even in the grocery section, a lot of times in the herb section, you can find fresh bay, and that is gonna have flavor. We're also gonna add some peppercorns, put it right in there, and some salt. And you want a good dose of salt, because just like if you were gonna season pasta water, you want this to be seasoned. All of the salt does not transfer to the chicken, but it does season it, and that's important. So now what we're gonna do is put the chicken right in, and I'm gonna bring this all to a simmer on the stove. So it's gonna slowly come up. We don't wanna hard boil it. We wanna bring it to a gentle simmer and just let it cook until the chicken reaches 160 degrees. The chicken is poaching, and I want you to see what it's looking like. It's a very, very low simmer, hardly anything. So every so often what you notice are these little bubbles that come up. Nice and gentle simmer. See that nice little bubble? That's all I want. I don't want to cook it hard. We want a gentle cooking because that's going to make sure we don't overcook the chicken. It's going to make sure that it retains its moisture and imparts flavor on it. So I'm just going to check it when it's done for 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Then I'll remove it. What I have over here is just a component of this chicken salad that's gonna make it extra special. So I have some butter that I melted. I'm adding some pecans, just beautiful pecan halves, which we know work well for fall. We love that. A little bit of maple syrup. That's gonna sweeten them, almost glaze them, but just very lightly. And then a mixture of spices. So we have some cinnamon for that warmth, a little bit of turmeric, which for color and a little bit earthy flavor, some garlic powder and onion powder. Together, they're gonna create this beautiful array of spices that are just gonna coat these pecans perfectly. And then to finish them up, of course, you need a little bit of salt. That's just gonna make sure they're well seasoned. And then I'm just gonna make sure as they're slowly cooking here on the stove, I'm watching them, stirring them, making sure nothing is, burning, and soon enough they'll be done. We'll just put them on parchment paper. So I took the pecans off and I put them on parchment because you can see once they start cooling, they become, a little bit glazed and kind of stick together. So you want them on something that you can easily remove them from. Once the chicken poached, I checked it, always made sure that it did not go over and took it out when it was right at temperature. Now, this is liquid golden here. This is that poaching liquid that's still hot because I had it on the stove. This is now a beautiful broth that is well flavored, well seasoned. Use it for soup. Put it in the freezer and use it in the upcoming months when it gets cold. This is a wonderful flavored thing. You don't want to throw that out. But it also imparted so much goodness right here in the chicken. So what we're gonna do now is make the dressing that really goes on a chicken salad. And really it's not too different. There's a few variations I'm doing since It's fall. It's a fall chicken salad. So there's a couple little changes. But we're gonna start with mayonnaise. Now, I usually use homemade mayonnaise. You can look at my website for my homemade mayonnaise recipe. You can also just buy whatever mayonnaise you love, or if you have it in the fridge, use it. It's whatever works for you. So along with the mayonnaise, we're also gonna do some Greek yogurt. I like to cut my mayonnaise with a little bit of Greek yogurt, meaning mayonnaise on its own can be pretty strong, can be a little bit sometimes heavy, where Greek yogurt is a little bit more nuanced, has a little bit lighter flavor, so it's not near as strong, and I really like that. So then we're gonna do some Dijon mustard, and I have a nice dose of Dijon because I want that mustardy kick in it. So we're gonna put that right in there too. This is just putting everything together. It's pretty simple. Now with this, we're gonna do a few other things, like some apple cider vinegar. You need that tang, and you really wanna cut it with some of that nice, bright acidity. Little bit of maple syrup to balance everything out. You know, sometimes a little bit of sweetness, just like if we use sometimes just a teaspoon or two of sugar in a recipe, it makes a big difference. And then some black pepper that I freshly ground. I'm gonna put that right in here too. And then a little bit of salt, which we can adjust at the end, but a little bit of seasoning is gonna make a difference. And now we're just gonna whisk this together. And to whisk it, you just wanna make sure, I think it's easier, you can dump all of it together with the chicken, all the other things we're doing, but it's easier to get it combined evenly if we're just gonna whisk it now. I always think, you know, yes, it sounds like one extra step to whisk it, but guess what? That makes it easier to mix it all together. So I will say, if I can at any point when I'm cooking, when I'm baking, if it's cooked foods, ready to eat foods, I will always taste something. So I have a little spoon. And I'm tasting it because depending on your mayonnaise, you may need more or less salt. So I'm gonna do a little bit more salt, whisk it, set that aside because that's gonna be ready to go. And we can talk about all the other accoutrements that we're adding to it. So since this is fall inspired, a lot of times a chicken salad will have maybe grapes, which can be very controversial depending. You can also have celery, something crunchy. We're doing apple, which to me is the perfect in-between sweet tart thing to add. Now, I went out to my orchard and was looking for apples that were ready, and this is one of them. I love these heirloom apples that I grow. I'm not even going to actually peel it. I like the peel on, but I do want to have them in nice bite-sized pieces, which I think is important because you don't want to be going through and having, you know, way too big a piece of apple. You want everything to be nice sized when you're adding it to it. So I like to actually put them in a nice dice, and I'll put the whole apple in, and then you get that sweet tart flavor, and that to me is what's super important. Now, along with the apple, before I add anything, I'm gonna get everything ready, but I'm also gonna get ready my chicken. So our chicken's been sitting and cooling. You don't wanna add hot chicken to your mayonnaise base. You can even put it in the fridge and make this a day before if you want to, but we're gonna also just cube this up. Instead of shredded, I like nice pieces, but look how perfectly, still juicy, still maintains that perfectly cooked quality, and it's gonna have so much flavor. So I'm gonna dice this up about the same piece size maybe as the apple or a little bit bigger, and then we'll go ahead and we'll just add everything to the dressing. I have everything chopped and ready to go, and you can see it's just about the same size. We're gonna add it all right here to this. I think we underestimate the beauty and the importance of poached chicken. We don't do it enough, and it's nice to have on hand. Now, if you're wondering why my apple has those little specks in it, you know, sometimes homegrown apples, they're not perfect, and that to me is just okay. We don't need perfect fruit. What you get in the grocery store, honestly, sometimes it's too perfect. What we grow at home isn't always, and that's okay. It tastes great. It has a nice sweet tart flavor, and that's what I like. So you could use a Granny Smith or something that has like a slight sweet, but a nice tartness to it too. Now with the pecans, what I did once they dried, I just went through with my hands and I broke them up like this. Because I like irregular big pieces. I don't want to chop them into small bits. I like that it can kind of be irregular. Now, if you want to make this ahead, don't add the pecans right away because they will get soggy over time. Add them maybe right before you're wanting to serve or make sandwiches. Or if you want to eat this through the week, add them little bits at a time. I just don't like soggy pecans, so I would wait to do that. And then we have some craisins, which are gonna, again, have that nice sweetness to it. They add a really good kind of chew and texture to it too that I really like. And this is the best part, is when you mix it all together and you just see how perfect it is. Now, personally, I love chicken salad. This is what I would keep around, eat on all throughout the week, put it on lunch at a salad, maybe just with some greens, have a good piece of like bread or two with it at a dinner. It just, to me, is the perfect thing you can have. And what I like is this one has a little bit of that fall flair, and that to me is super important because you have just little components that are just super extra special in it that I really love. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna make a sandwich because that's how you need to know how good it is. So I have my bread, I have some brioche that I made. but you can do any type or any bread that you love. Some crisp lettuce on it would be good too. It just kind of depends what you're into. It doesn't really matter as long as you're happy about it, right? So I think you always need to cut it. Now, the big controversy probably is gonna be, do you cut it diagonal or do you cut it in half? I cut it diagonal. Why? Because we're fancy. When we make a good chicken salad, we're fancy. And I think that's just perfect. But look at that. Does that not look good? Ugh. You get the pecans, you get chicken. Good. I took a really big bite, but it's really good and it's worth it. It's one of those that once you get into it, it's really hard not to just eat the whole thing because you get so much goodness in it. You get the chicken, you get all those pieces of like the apple and the, oh, I just hit a cranberry, I love that. And you get that chewy sweetness there. I mean, look at all that goodness in that chicken salad. And if you wanna let it sit a little bit, those pecans will be good for a few hours, but just, it will marinate even more, and that's what I love about it. It will sit and gain that flavor and only get better with time. That's the point. So what do I hope you do with this video? I hope, instead of hating the changing of the season, if you're one of those people, you embrace it and think, how do I bring those cool flavors of summer that I love into a different season? You just change a few things out, swap a few things, and you have it. So share this video around so other people too can see how easy it is to make good food at home. You don't have to go to the deli to get a good chicken salad. You can make one and it's just as good. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this full recipe where you can print it off. Also, the video description below has it. Until next time, I hope you make a sandwich and maybe one to share.